It was a peaceful evening in the small town of Willow Creek. The sky was painted in soft shades of pink and purple as the sun slowly set behind the distant hills. Birds chirped as they settled into their nests, and the world seemed to pause for a moment. But all that changed in an instant when a strange, bright light appeared in the sky. At first, it looked like a star, but then it began to move, slowly at first, and then faster, heading directly toward the earth. People who were outside enjoying the cool evening air stopped what they were doing and looked up. A low hum echoed across the fields as the object descended from the sky, leaving a trail of shimmering light behind it. "What is that?" someone whispered, eyes wide in disbelief. The object grew larger as it came closer, its shape now visible. It was unlike any plane or spacecraft anyone had ever seen. It was a metallic, oval-shaped ship glowing with an eerie, otherworldly light. It hovered silently over the ground, casting a strange shadow over the landscape. The air around it shimmered like the heat waves rising from a desert floor, but the night was cool. In the distance, a loud, metallic thud echoed as the object landed softly in the middle of an open field, not far from the town. It wasn't a crash, but a soft landing, as though the ship had been carefully guided to the ground. The dust from the impact settled, leaving an eerie stillness in the air. People from the town gathered near the edge of the field, their curiosity getting the best of them. They whispered among themselves, unsure whether they should approach or run for safety. The air was thick with a sense of anticipation, and every eye was fixed on the strange object in the middle of the field. Seconds felt like minutes, and minutes like hours. The first person to move forward was an elderly man named Mr. Thompson. He was a quiet, thoughtful man, known for his love of astronomy. He had always been fascinated by the stars, and tonight, it seemed like the universe had answered his curiosity in the most extraordinary way. "I think it's safe," Mr. Thompson said, his voice calm but filled with wonder. "We should go see what it is. It could be something we've never seen before, maybe even a sign from the stars." The crowd hesitated for a moment, but then slowly began to move toward the field. The sound of their footsteps seemed unusually loud against the silence of the night. The ship was now fully visible, and despite the initial fear, there was something undeniably captivating about it. The way it seemed to glow with an ethereal light, the way it hovered effortlessly above the ground. It was almost beautiful, like something out of a dream. Then, without warning, the hatch of the ship slowly began to open. A low mechanical whirring sound filled the air as the doors slid apart. The crowd collectively held their breath. From the ship, a figure emerged. It was tall and slender, with an almost translucent skin that shimmered with a soft, pale blue light. Its eyes were large, too large for a human, and they were a deep, dark color that seemed to absorb the light around them. The figure stood silently for a moment, studying the crowd. It wasn't a person. It wasn't anything they had seen before. For a long moment, no one moved. The figure in front of them was an alien. The truth hit them all at once, but no one could bring themselves to react. The crowd stood frozen, staring in disbelief, unsure of what to do. Should they run? Should they call for help? Or was this some kind of elaborate hoax? But then, something extraordinary happened. The alien raised one of its long, slender arms and pointed toward the group. A soft glow emanated from its hand, and the crowd felt a strange warmth wash over them. It wasn't threatening. It was calming, reassuring, as though the alien was trying to tell them it meant no harm. It wasn't there to invade or to conquer. It was simply there, on Earth, as if it had always belonged. The silence stretched on for what felt like an eternity. Then one of the children, a young girl no older than 7, stepped forward. She had been quiet throughout the entire ordeal, her eyes wide with wonder. But now, something inside her seemed to click. She wasn't scared. She wasn't worried. She was curious, and she was brave. With small, hesitant steps, she walked toward the alien. Her heart raced, but there was no fear in her eyes, only fascination. The others watched in awe as the girl approached the figure. The alien's large eyes seemed to soften as it watched her, its head tilting slightly to one side in curiosity. The girl stopped just a few feet away from it, her small hands at her sides. "Hello," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. But somehow, The alien seemed to understand. It slowly lowered its hand to its chest, a gesture that almost seemed like a greeting. The crowd gasped. Could this be happening? Were they truly witnessing the first human-alien interaction? The moment was so surreal that it almost felt like a dream. The alien then did something even more surprising. It reached out with its long, delicate fingers and gently touched the girl's hand. There was no shock, no danger. Instead, the touch was soft, warm, and comforting, as though the alien was showing kindness. The girl smiled up at the alien, and for a moment, it seemed as though they were communicating in a language far beyond words. The alien's eyes glowed softly, and the girl, in return, nodded as if she understood. But just as quickly as the moment had begun, it ended. The alien pulled its hand away, looking at the girl for one last time. Then it slowly stepped back toward the ship, its movements graceful and deliberate. The crowd was silent, their minds racing with questions. What had just happened? Was the alien leaving? Without a sound, the ship's hatch closed and the figure disappeared from view. The alien's presence was no longer felt in the field. The ship, what had been so magnificent just moments before, now looked like just another strange object in the night sky. The crowd stood in silence, unsure what to do next. Was this encounter a sign? A warning? Or perhaps just a fleeting moment of wonder? The alien had come and gone, leaving behind only the memory of its visit, and the feeling that maybe, just maybe, there was more to the universe than they had ever imagined. The next day, the town of Willow Creek buzzed with activity. Word of the strange visitor had spread like wildfire, and everyone was talking about the alien who had come from the stars. The excitement was palpable. People who had witnessed the event were approached by curious neighbors, friends, and even reporters from the local news station. In the heart of the town, a small group gathered at the local cafe, discussing the events of the previous night over steaming cups of coffee. Among them was Mr. Thompson, the elderly man who had been the first to approach the alien. He sat back in his chair, his mind still replaying the encounter over and over. "I still can't believe it," he said softly, shaking his head in disbelief. "I've spent my whole life staring at the stars, and I never imagined I'd be face to face with something from beyond them." The conversation was lively, but one voice stood out. Sophia, the young girl who had bravely stepped forward to greet the alien. She had become somewhat of a local hero overnight. Her parents had tried to shield her from too much attention, but it was impossible to avoid. Sophia, however, didn't seem fazed by the sudden fame. She was more fascinated by the alien than by the attention she was getting. "I'm not scared," Sophia said, her voice full of wonder as she sat next to Mr. Thompson at the cafe table. "I think the alien just wanted to be friends. It didn't hurt me. It was nice." Mr. Thompson smiled at her, his eyes twinkling with admiration. "You're a brave one, Sophia. Not everyone would have the courage to approach something like that." Sophia nodded, her gaze distant, as if she was reliving the moment in her mind. It didn't look like a monster. It looked like it was just different, like it was lost or needed help. Her words hung in the air, a reminder that the alien's arrival was not just an extraordinary event. It was a mystery. What did it want? Why had it come to Earth? These were questions that no one had answers to, and they burned the minds of every person who had witnessed the encounter. Meanwhile, across town, the alien ship sat quietly in the same field where it had landed the night before. It hadn't moved since its arrival. No one knew if it was still operational or if it was simply a lifeless object, abandoned by its strange occupant. But the fact that it was still there filled the townspeople with an uneasy sense of curiosity. Some were eager to learn more, while others, especially the town's more skeptical residents, feared what might happen next. Later that afternoon, as the sun began to set again, Sophia stood at the edge of the field, her eyes fixed on the ship. She wasn't sure why, but she felt a pull, an undeniable urge to return. It was as though the alien had left something behind, something she was meant to understand. Her heart raced with excitement, and despite the warnings from her parents, she decided to visit the site once more. With determination in her step, Sophia made her way through the tall grass that led to the ship. As she got closer, she noticed that the ship's exterior was even more beautiful than she remembered. The metal surface seemed to glow faintly, like it was alive with energy, and strange patterns were etched into its surface. They were unlike any marking Sophia had ever seen, swirling and shifting in ways that made her head spin. It was like the ship itself was speaking to her, whispering secrets that only she could hear. As she approached, the hatch of the ship slowly creaked open. There, standing in the doorway, was the alien. It was taller than she remembered, its skin still shimmering with that pale blue light. But this time, it didn't seem as distant or otherworldly. Instead, it looked almost familiar. There was a softness in its eyes, a recognition that made Sophia feel, for the first time, that they truly understood each other. The alien stepped forward, its long fingers moving in a slow, graceful motion. It raised its hand, and in a strange gesture, it beckoned to Sophia. She hesitated for a moment, unsure whether to step forward, but her curiosity overcame her fear. She took a deep breath and approached the ship, her hand trembling slightly. "I'm not afraid," she whispered to herself as she neared the alien. "I want to know." The alien made no sound as it reached out to her, its movements deliberate and measured. Sophia watched in awe as the alien gently touched her forehead with its cool, delicate fingers. There was no pain, only a strange sensation that filled her mind, a feeling of calm, of understanding. It was as if the alien was sharing something with her, something important. For a moment, everything went quiet. Sophia could feel the presence of the alien deep inside her mind, a connection that seemed to stretch across the stars. The images that flooded her thoughts were vivid and overwhelming. She saw a world far away, a planet filled with swirling colors and strange landscapes. She saw the alien's home, a place that was both familiar and alien at the same time. And in that moment, she realized something profound. The alien was not just a visitor. It was a traveler, lost in the vastness of the universe, searching for something it had yet to find. Then, just as quickly as it began, the vision faded. The alien withdrew its hand, its expression unreadable, but its eyes held a deep sadness, as if it shared something precious, but knew it couldn't stay. Sophia felt a pang of sorrow in her chest as the alien took a step back, turning toward the ship. It was clear to her now, the alien wasn't here to stay. It had come to Earth, looking for something, but it was leaving now, perhaps never to return. "Goodbye," Sophia whispered, her voice barely audible in the cool evening air. The alien didn't respond with words. Instead, it looked back one last time, its large eyes locking with hers in a final moment of silent understanding. Then it turned and disappeared inside the ship. With a soft whirring sound, the hatch closed, and the ship slowly began to rise from the ground. The people who had gathered around the field watched in stunned silence as the alien ship ascended into the sky, its glowing light fading as it disappeared into the vastness of space. Sophia stood there for a long time, her heart heavy with the weight of the encounter. She had learned something in that moment, a secret the universe had shared with her. The alien's visit was not just a fleeting moment of wonder. It was a reminder that we are all part of something far bigger than ourselves. The alien had come to Earth, and for a brief time it had touched their lives. And now it was gone, leaving behind only the memory of its visit, and a question that would never be answered. What had the alien truly been looking for? The next few days passed in a blur of confusion, excitement, and a sense of longing. Willow Creek was a town like any other, yet now it was forever changed. The alien's sudden departure left a strange, unshakable silence in the air. People still talked about it, of course, but the bustling excitement had turned into a quiet reflection, as if the town had collectively realized that something significant had come and gone, leaving no trace behind except the memories of those who had witnessed it. Sophia couldn't stop thinking about the encounter. She had tried to go back to her normal routine, but nothing seemed to matter anymore. Her thoughts were consumed by the alien, by the connection they had shared. She had felt something when it touched her, something deep within her soul that made her feel connected to the stars themselves. That afternoon, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, Sophia found herself walking alone toward the field once again. She didn't know why she kept coming back. It was as if she was drawn to the place, as if the alien had left something behind that she needed to find. When she reached the edge of the field, she stopped and stood there for a moment, staring at the spot where the ship had once been. It was now just an empty patch of grass, nothing more than a reminder of the extraordinary event that had taken place. The ship was gone, the alien was gone, and the world had returned to normal. But Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that the alien hadn't truly left. As if on cue, a soft rustling sound filled the air. Sophia's heart skipped a beat. She turned slowly, her eyes scanning the field. There was no one there, no sign of the alien or its ship. But then, in the distance, she saw something. Something strange, something out of place. A figure stood at the far end of the field, barely visible in the fading light. It was tall, slender, and silhouetted against the backdrop of the setting sun. For a moment, Sophia froze, unsure what to do. Was it the alien? Had it returned? Or was it just her mind playing tricks on her? With her heart pounding in her chest, she walked toward the figure. As she got closer, the figure turned to face her, and there, standing before her, was the alien. It had returned. Sophia's breath caught in her throat. The alien's presence was as overwhelming as ever, but this time there was something different. Its skin no longer shimmered with that eerie blue glow. Instead, it appeared more solid, more grounded. The alien looked tired, almost as if it had been through a long journey. Its eyes, however, still held the same sense of wisdom, the same quiet understanding that Sophia had seen before. "You're back," she whispered, her voice trembling. She wasn't sure what to feel, relief, confusion, or even fear. But mostly, she felt an overwhelming sense of connection, as if the alien had returned for a reason she couldn't yet understand. The alien didn't speak. Instead, it reached out with its long, delicate fingers, just like it had before. Sophia instinctively stepped forward, her gaze locked with its eyes. This time, there was no hesitation. She knew what she had to do. As the alien's fingers brushed her forehead once again, a rush of images flooded her mind. But this time they were different. Instead of seeing just the alien's homeworld, she saw the entire universe, a vast expanse of stars, planets, and galaxies, all intertwined in a delicate dance of life and energy. The alien wasn't just a visitor from another planet. It was a traveler of the cosmos, seeking knowledge, connection, and understanding. But there was more. Sophia saw a vision of the alien standing alone, far from home, searching for something it couldn't find. It was not lost in the physical sense, but in a deeper, more existential way. The alien was searching for meaning, for a purpose, and in its journey across the stars, it had encountered Earth, not by accident, but by design. The vision shifted again, and Sophia found herself standing on a distant planet, her feet touching the soft, alien soil. The sky above her was filled with colors she couldn't even describe. Vibrant hues of purple, gold, and green swirled together in a breathtaking display of light. It was a place where the laws of nature seemed different, where reality itself felt fluid and ever-changing. And in that moment, Sophia understood. The alien had come to Earth because it was searching for something deeper than just companionship or interaction. It was searching for a connection to the universe itself, a connection that transcended time and space. The alien had sensed something within Sophia, something that made her the perfect person to understand its journey, its purpose. As the vision faded, Sophia's mind returned to present. The alien had withdrawn its hand, its eyes now filled with a sense of quiet understanding. It seemed at peace, as if it found what it was looking for. At least for now. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Sophia wasn't sure what to say. How could she put into words the vastness of what she had just experienced? How could she explain the sense of cosmic connection that had been shared between them? The alien seemed to sense a confusion, and for the first time it spoke, its voice soft and melodic, though the words were not in any language that Sophia could understand. Yet, somehow, she understood, the alien wasn't staying. It had found what it needed, and now it was time to move on, to continue its journey. But Sophia wasn't sad. She felt no fear, no regret. She felt a deep sense of peace, as if she had shared something profound, something that transcended the boundaries of the physical world. "I understand," she whispered, her voice steady now. "You have to go." The alien nodded slowly, its gaze lingering on her for a long moment. Then, without another word, it turned and walked toward the edge of the field. The soft glow of its body slowly began to fade, and with it, the sense of presence that had filled the air. The alien was leaving, but this time it wasn't goodbye forever. As the alien disappeared into the distance, Sophia stood there, watching it go. She felt a sense of fulfillment, a quiet joy that filled her heart. She had met a being from the stars. She had shared a moment of profound connection, and she knew that no matter where the alien's journey took it next, their paths would always be linked across time and space. Days passed, but the events that had unfolded in Willow Creek remained fresh in Sophia's mind. The alien's visit, the connection they had shared, and the knowledge she had gained, all of it felt like a dream. Yet it wasn't just a dream. It was a reality that she could no longer ignore. Something inside her had shifted. A part of her that had once been closed off was now open, and the world around her seemed more vast, more connected than ever before. Sophia found herself spending hours in her study, flipping through books on astronomy, philosophy, and the nature of the universe. She sought answers to questions that had never occurred to her before. What did the alien's visit mean for her, for humanity? And what had it meant for the world? The alien had said nothing about Earth's future, yet she felt that its visit was no accident. It had come for a reason. But what reason? As she sat in front of her desk, the soft hum of the outside world drifting through the window, there was a knock at the door. Sophia looked up, startled. She hadn't been expecting anyone. Slowly, she stood up and made her way to the door. When she opened it, she was greeted by a familiar face. Jack, the town's newspaper reporter. "Sophia," Jack said with a small smile, holding out a piece of paper. "I thought you might want to see this." Confused, Sophia took the paper and scanned it. The headline read, "Mysterious Visitor, a Strange Event in Willow Creek." Beneath the headline, there was a brief recount of the events that had transpired. The arrival of the alien, its brief encounter with the town, and its sudden disappearance. "It's all here," Jack said, his voice lowered. "I'm not sure what to make of it. The townspeople are already talking. Some think it was a hoax. Others think it's a sign of something greater. But I know you saw it. You were there. You know what really happened." Sophia looked at Jack, her mind racing. She had always known that there would be questions, but seeing it all written down, seeing the world try and make sense of what had happened, brought a strange sense of clarity. She had been part of something that could change everything. The world wasn't ready to understand it, but maybe it didn't need to be. It wasn't about them. It was about what she had learned, what she had experienced. "I know, Jack," she said quietly, "but the truth isn't something I can explain easily. It's something I need to process first. I don't have all the answers." Jack nodded, a look of understanding crossing his face. "I get it. Just don't forget, okay? People are looking for answers, and you're the only one who can give them." Sophia watched as Jack turned and walked away, the weight of his words hanging in the air. The town was buzzing with curiosity. It was only a matter of time before more people came asking questions. But Sophia knew that some things couldn't be explained with words. What she had experienced was beyond human understanding, beyond the realm of logic and reason. It was something more. Later that evening, as Sophia sat alone in her room, gazing out at the stars, she felt a deep sense of peace. The alien's visit had left her with more questions than answers, but she wasn't afraid of the unknown. In fact, she had come to embrace it. She knew that the universe was vast, that there were infinite mysteries waiting to be discovered, and maybe, just maybe, she was meant to be part of that discovery. The alien had shown her that the boundaries of what she knew were far too limited. There was more to life than what met the eye. There was more to existence than what could be explained. She had learned that there was a deep, universal connection between all beings, a connection that transcended time, space, and understanding. As she sat there, the stars twinkling above her, Sophia made a silent vow. She would continue searching, continue learning. She wouldn't let the visit of the alien be a fleeting moment. It would be the beginning of something greater. The next morning, Sophia woke up early, determined to take action. She had no idea where her path would lead, but she knew one thing for sure. Her journey had just begun. In the days that followed, Sophia began to reach out to people. She contacted scientists, astronomers, and even philosophers, Eager to learn more about the vast universe she had only begun to understand, she shared her experience with them, not just as a story, but as a call to action. There was so much more to discover, and she would be at the forefront of it. But it wasn't just about the alien anymore. It was about the connection between all living things. It was about understanding the universe as a whole and the role humanity played in it. There were still many questions to be answered, but Sophia was no longer afraid to face them. She was no longer afraid of the unknown. One evening, as Sophia walked through the town, she couldn't help but notice the changes that had come over Willow Creek. The town that had once felt so ordinary, so small, now seemed full of possibility. People were looking up at the sky more often, wondering what was out there, what they couldn't see. They were starting to ask the questions that Sophia had been asking. They were beginning to understand that the universe was vast and full of mysteries, and maybe, just maybe, humanity wasn't alone. As she passed the field where the alien had appeared, Sophia stopped for a moment, her heart full. The alien had left, but its visit had ignited something in her, something she couldn't ignore. The universe was waiting, and she was ready. With a deep breath, Sophia turned and walked forward, ready to embrace whatever came next. The journey ahead was uncertain, but she no longer feared it. The alien had shown her that there was always more to discover, more to learn, and more to experience. And she was ready to see where it would take her.